Hi, I'm Fernando Martinez and I'm from Crystal Lake. This is my 1975 Volkswagen sedan Beetle. You know, this car was originally my uncle's car. He bought it brand new in 1974. It's a 75 model. And I was always attracted as a child to the Volkswagen Beetle. As I grew up, I kind of lost sight of them. They were no longer produced or sold in the U.S. So this was my uncle's car, and I saw this car over years when I visited my uncle in Mexico. He's now in his 80s, and I heard he was going to get rid of it. So I contacted him and I said I wanted to keep it in the family, and gave me the opportunity to get my Beetle that I always wanted. The Beetle in Mexico was probably the most popular car ever sold. It was used for taxis, as probably many people know. Truly the car of the people. So it gave true meaning to the word Volkswagen. So it's a very popular car in Mexico, very affordable. The air-cooled Volkswagen completed production in Mexico for the model year 2004. This is a Mexican Beetle, so it's quite unique in the sense that it's really not to par to the ones sold here in the States. Mexican Beetle of 75 is probably closer to a 67 or 68 Beetle sold here. It doesn't have the safety requirements, so the seats are low seats. It didn't have the emissions requirements, so there was another issue we didn't have. It also has smaller windows, so if the Volkswagens prior to 1971 had smaller windows in the front and the sides and the rear. The car, when I brought it from Mexico, I imported it, and the car was a survivor. It was in good condition, but it was not perfect, and it had been beaten up by the sun. The interior was shot, the paint was kind of faded. So one of the things we had to do was, obviously, I wanted to paint it, and I wanted to paint it this color. I picked this color for two reasons. It's a color the Volkswagen was using here for the new Beetle convertible, but it's also one of the colors they used for the last 3,000 2004 production cars they made, and they called that the Última Edición, which means ultimate, the final edition. Those were for collection, and one of the colors they picked for that group of cars was this color. It's called Aquarius Blue. When we took the car apart to restore, we did find some rust areas that we were able to graft metal and make it solid again. It has 4 coats of paint and 4 coats of clear coat. Volkswagen Beetles were very basic transportation. Not many options were offered at the time. So one of the things I wanted when I restored the car was to have a stereo system. The car only came with 1 speaker. In order to put a second speaker, we had to figure a way to install it and also hide it from the trunk. So one of the things that we did was that we were fortunate enough to find an original Volkswagen toolbox. There went in the trunk. So what we did is we bolted onto the base of the trunk and used it in a way to hide the speaker from the trunk and still be able to get the stereo capability that I was looking for in the car. As we restored the car, I had this vision that I wanted a classic look to the Volkswagen. The 75 Volkswagen, even in Mexico, had the padded dash. I didn't like that look. I really wanted the old Volkswagen classic look. So I asked that we remove the dash, fill in the holes, prepare the surface, and paint it to look like the old classic. So it matches the color of the car. So we gave it the look. We gave it the bamboo tray, which was an official Volkswagen accessory from the 60s. The 70s Volkswagens had the modern steering wheel, and I wanted a 60s steering wheel. When it was being restored, I was told, well, it won't fit the column of the Volkswagen. So I said, well, what if we remove the column, right? So that was the answer. We removed the column, and it gave me the opportunity to have the steering wheel I wanted. The standard engine that came with these cars for this year was a 1600cc dual-port engine, with power spec around 57 horsepower. It moved the car well. I wanted just a little bit more oomph to it. So I had, as part of the restoration, I had the engine rebuilt with higher performance. So its spec is a 1776 cc engine, which has bigger pistons. Increases the horsepower to about 80 horsepower. And so for that kind of horses on a car like this, it's very light. you can feel the significance in the power of the engine as it pulls the car. So this car is not obviously a muscle car. It's a cruising car, and that's what I use it for. I attend shows, and it's a pleasure to drive on the roads with the performance gains that we had. We enjoy the pull of the engine, especially going uphill. The reaction I usually get from people with these cars is that they're cute. You know, they're reminiscent of the 60s and 70s for them. So I get a lot of positive feedback from people. When I bought this car, I really thought about, I wasn't sure if I was going to restore it to a hot rod or restore it to a classic. I like both, but I really do enjoy the classic look. I'm very satisfied with that my vision came through. This car was restored to a classic look with the white walls, the wheels matching the paint of the car, the dashboard that is from the earlier years. So I'm really satisfied that the vision I had in my mind, it came to fruition.